Today, this is a test, is Wednesday, February 22nd, and this is a meeting of the Cities and County Subcommittee. So if you have a bill in another committee, please go now. Welcome to members and guests. The committee will be in order. Ms. Anderson, would you please take the roll?
Representative Alexander. Present. Representative Hale. Here. Representative Holzclaw. Present. Representative McKenzie. Representative Slater. Representative Wright. Here. Chairman Crawford. Present. Chairman Moon.
Present.
Chairman Moon, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson. At this time, do any members wish to recognize any guests, or do they have any personal orders? Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a special guest with me here today. Of course, most of y'all know I represent the 1st District, which is right up in the very northeast tip of Tennessee. It's God's country up there. And I am honored to have my local mayor, Vince Turner, and his lovely wife, if y'all would please stand. Make them feel welcome, please.
Thank you, Chairman Crawford. Chair, I'd like one moment of personal privilege. Today is my oldest grandson's birthday. He's 21 years old today, and he is a junior and majoring in mathematics, wants to be an actuary, and I think probably the state of Tennessee could use a few more of those. So if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and bring up the first item on today's calendar, House Bill 1197 by Chairman Williams. We've been asked to roll this bill for 2 weeks without objection. Hearing no objection, House Bill 1197 is rolled for 2 weeks. The next bill is House Bill 724 by Chairman Halsey. Is there there's a motion and a second on House Bill 724. Chairman Halsey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. This bill it came to me actually from some other constables up in my neck of the woods. And it just requires any constable who seeks the office of constable from this coming July 1st forward after that, they have to have a psychological done just like any law enforcement officer has to do in the state of Tennessee.
Yes, sir, Chairman Halsey. I believe you have an amendment on this bill.
And that makes the bill, yes, sir, it's Amendment 3494.
Is there a motion on Amendment 3? There's a motion and a second on House Bill Amendment 3494. Continue, sir, on the amendment.
It just requires anybody from this coming July 4th of 23 going forward that they have to take the same psychological test to make sure that they are fit psychologically and cognitively. And constables that are elected now and on duty now, they are grandfathered. It does not affect them. It's just going forward.
Questions on the amendment from the members? Chairman Crawford, you're recognized on the amendment, sir.
On the amendment, it's my understanding when I read through this here that they will have to turn that in to qualify with the election commission. Is that correct?
Chairman Halsey.
That's exactly correct. And there is a section in here also deals if the county commission wants to fill a post without an election and they want for example, somebody dropped out and could not be there and they wanted to fill that position, they have to give that same form and documentation to the county commission.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Holtzclaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and Representative Halsey. The question I have, who pays for this, and do you know an approximate cost of it?
Chairman Halsey.
I just checked on the cost today up in our end, and it's $250 for the test, and the constable has to pay it.
Chairman Holtzclaw.
Because to my knowledge, these guys do not get paid, correct? I mean, they get paid based upon serving a bond or something like that.
Chairman Holtzclaw.
That is correct.
Chairman Halsey.
Thank you.
Any other members? Are we ready to vote on the amendment? All in favor of House Bill Amendment 3494, say aye. 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 Opposed, say no. The ayes prevail. The amendment goes on. We're back on the bill, 724. Chairman Halsey, you have any closing comments?
No, sir.
Is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 724. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. House Bill 724 and the amendment moves on to the next available calendar of local government.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Our next bill is House Bill 708 by Chairman Doggett. Is there a motion on House Bill 708? We have a motion and a second. Chairman Doggett, you are recognized on House Bill 708.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. What we're doing is putting in, this is familiar for those that were here last year, training, a supplement for correctional officers that attend the 40-hour in-service training per year through the Tennessee Corrections Institute.
Okay, you've heard the explanation of the bill. I did get there is a motion and a second when he was coming to the lectern to speak. So it's properly before the committee. Is there questions or comments to the sponsor? Seeing none, is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 708. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. House Bill 708 moves to the next available calendar of local government. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very
Doggett.
much.
The next bill is House Bill 346 by Representative Sparks. Representative Sparks' office has requested this bill be rolled 2 weeks. Is there objection? Hearing no objection, House Bill 346 is rolled 2 weeks. Our next bill is House Bill 336 by Representative Bulzo. We have a motion and a second. Representative Bulzo, you are recognized on House Bill 336.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill that seeks to amend part of Title VI, specifically 6-19-104, dealing with the authority of city managers and city manager commission charters to increase the level at which no bid contracts are entered into. And it would affect, Mr. Chairman, approximately 49 municipalities across the state, including Rockford, which obviously is in the chairman's Blount County. It really seeks to amend 6-19-104 in 2 ways. First, it would raise from $10,000 to $25,000 the threshold at which no bid contracts can be entered into. Under current law, each municipality is limited to $10,000. Anything over $10,000 has to be put out for competitive bids. This bill, 336, seeks to increase that $10,000 threshold up to $25,000. And then secondly, the bill seeks to amend 6-19-104F to allow the city commission to delegate to the city manager the authority to enter into routine contracts up to $25,000. Once again, under current law, that threshold is set at $10,000. This bill would increase it to $25,000 given the inflationary cycle that we've seen recently and the fact that obviously the bill has not been amended in some time to address that threshold. Finally, it's worth noting that these amendments give local governments a tool that they can opt into. It's not required, of course, that every city commission, every charter across the state actually raise the threshold from $10,000 to $25,000. This would simply give them the statutory authority to do so, should they so choose.
Thank you, sponsor. Questions or comments from the committee? Mayor Cola, I'm sure you've been in contact with Mayor Cola, and this day and time, a lot of companies won't take the time and the cost and incur the expense to prepare a bid for $12,000, $13,000. So, any other questions or comments? Without objection, we will vote on House Bill 336. Hearing no objection, all in favor of 336 say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. House Bill 336 moves on to the first available calendar of local government.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Is House Bill 335 by Representative Bulzo. Question. Why did we get calendared 335 after 336?
Mr. Chairman, I do not know.
We will do some research. Is this your first bill before this committee?
This is now my second bill before the committee, Mr. Chairman.
So with that, we need a motion on House Bill 335. We have a motion and a second. We wanted to get the procedural things out before we brought your bill up for consideration, sir. So continue and explain House Bill 335.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, this is a bill that moves us from Title 19, from Chapter 19 within Title 6 down to Chapter 20. This is a proposed amendment to 6-20-110. It once again applies to city manager, commission, chartered municipalities across the state, the same number that we dealt with just a moment ago with regard to HB 336. And here, this proposed amendment does one thing. It gives a local city commission the ability to notify the county election commissioner sooner than 90 days of a vacancy on the city commission. Under current law, when a vacancy arises on a city commission, the city commission has 90 days within which to fill that vacancy. And it's only after that 90-day period expires that if the vacancy is not filled, the city commission can notify the county commissioner of elections that there is a vacancy as to which an election needs to be held. What this bill seeks to do is to allow city commissions not to have to wait the 90 days so that, for example, if there is no chance that the city commission is going to fill the vacancy, the city commission can notify the county election commission to put the vacancy on the ballot. This arose very recently, just last year, in a city in my district, Brentwood, Tennessee, where we unfortunately had the death of one of our beloved longtime city commissioners, Regina Smithson, who died in July of 2022. The next election was coming up in November. And the city commission made the decision not to fill the vacancy, but that an election was going to be necessary. But it had to wait 90 days under the existing law to notify the election commission. So we couldn't have the special election for the vacancy along with the general election in November. Instead, we had to have a special election in January, which obviously was costly and inconvenient to voters. What this bill does is it eliminates that requirement that the city commission wait 90 days and allows for more state efficiency to have special elections in alignment with general elections.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I understand. You partially answered my question with that statement. It's my understanding, though, if this was to happen and the county commission or the city commission made the election commission aware of the situation 90 days in advance, what if that falls in the number that they have to have the special election? Does this do away with that clause as long as they are within the 90 days? They wouldn't have to have a special election. They could just place it on the ballot?
Representative Bilzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, Chairman Crawford, it does not do away with the 75-day requirement that's in the statute, because if, in fact, the city commission notifies the county election commission that there's a vacancy, there still has to be 75 days for the city commission to post the election before the election can occur. In this particular case we're dealing with in Brentwood, there was 75 days, so it could have happened that the city commission notifies the county election commission, and then we've got a 75-day lapse between that notification and the election the first Tuesday of November. So that 75-day requirement remains in place.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, sir. I think that's what I was looking for there. I just didn't want us to be sending legislation back up there that would cost the counties more money or require them to have more special elections and those type of things. So thank you. Thank you for.
Do we have anyone else? Any questions, comments? Hearing none, is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we are voting on House Bill 335. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. House Bill 335 moves to the next available calendar of local government. Outstanding. I thought this might be a comptroller's bill for a moment because it actually makes government work better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Next bill is House Bill 99 by Representative Stevens. Is there a motion on House Bill 99? Is there a second? There's a motion and a second on House Bill 99. Representative Stevens, is this your first bill before this committee?
First for this committee, yes, sir.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the first bill before this committee, we have a standing policy that we have the individual sing the General Assembly fight song.
Representative Stevens, are you ready to perform, sir?
I am not ready to perform that, and you'll probably lose your audience.
Well, let's see. I think we should roll this bill to the heel. Is there objection? Hearing no objection, you roll to the heel. Next bill on our calendar is item number 8. It's House Bill 389 by Vice Chairman Wright. Is there a motion? A motion and a second on House Bill 389. Vice Chairman Wright, you are recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please excuse my voice. It's about gone away. I think we've had things running around the legislative building yesterday and today. This is item number 8, House Bill 389, and I'd like to read what's coming out of code. That's
Is there objection? Is there objection from the Committee on Reading? Hearing no objection, you're recognized to read, sir.
This is 55106. Every member of the county legislative body shall be required to attend each and every session of the body and allowed to vote and draw pay for attendance. This was initiated in 1887, 1923 updated, and then last 1978. What the bill will do is authorize a member of local government's legislative body to participate in a scheduled meeting by electronic means on 3 conditions. If the member is dealing with a family or medical emergency, has been called into military service, is unable to attend in person due to inclement weather. More specifically, the person can participate through electronic means only if the person can be identified by the chair. The electronic means video must allow the chair to identify the member participating electronically. Second, a quorum exists at the physical location of the meeting. Third, no more than 3 members of the body can participate electronically, and an individual member cannot participate any more than twice in a given year. All meetings conducted by electronic means must remain open and accessible to the public with real-time live audio or video access to the public. A clear audio or video recording of the meeting must be made available to the public not more than 2 business days after the meeting, and the notice of the meeting must provide information about how to access then the real-time live broadcast. To wrap things up, this is a permissive bill. I'm quoting from the bill now. The legislative body shall develop a policy for conducting meetings that include electronic participation. A policy can be no policy. This piece of legislation is permissive, and this act is to self-repeal July the 1st, 2026. And with that, I'll stand for questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sponsor. At this time, we'd go out of session. We have two speakers who have identified that they wish to speak on this 24-hour with the policy of the committee. The first speaker will be Commissioner Mansfield. If you'll come forward, sir. We'll go out of session. If you can go to the lectern if you like. It's your decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
You need your microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As a Sumner County Commissioner, I am petitioning you to please vote no on HB 389, which creates an exception to the entirety of the Open Meetings Act for county commissioners. We should not arbitrarily handle something as important as open meetings on a county-by-county basis. Would you do the same for voter ID requirements, seatbelt laws, or gun laws? When government trust is at an all-time low, government transparency should be at an all-time high. It should be uniform, and it should be standardized. Citizens expect their representatives to be present and in person when making decisions that affect their wallets or their pocketbooks. The potential abuse of hiding behind an electronic curtain is not doing what's in the best interest of the hardworking taxpayers of Tennessee. We knew what we signed up for when we ran for this seat. There should never, under any circumstances, be exemptions from meeting in person as a county commissioner or any elected official for that matter. Suppose a commissioner cannot fulfill his or her duties by meeting in person for an extended amount of time, sickness, military leave, etc. In that case, they should not have special privileges. They knew what they signed up for. If they cannot fulfill the obligations and requirements of their public seat, they should resign it. Sometimes commissioners have to miss meetings for various reasons, including weather, and that's okay. Life happens. But we should never seek to exempt meeting in person at any time, under any circumstance, including a family medical emergency. I've missed one meeting in 5 years. It was when a tornado hit my parents' Hendersonville home, and I had to evacuate my father, who was in his last days on this earth. He died 2 days after our meeting and 5 days after the tornado. He died in a hospital bed in my dining room turned hospice care. I did not need an exemption. I saw local governments abuse the opportunity to meet in person through the electronic meetings exemptions during COVID and to pass contentious issues without citizens being able to attend in person to petition their representatives with an adequate redress of grievances. As a sitting county commissioner, on behalf of myself and my colleagues, I am vehemently opposed to any exemptions to the Open Meetings Act, which would relieve county commissioners or any city, state, or elected official from the responsibility of meeting in person at all times. I implore you, please do not pass this bill. I thank you in advance for your no vote on HB 389. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Mansfield. We also have Ms. Fisher. If she'll come forward, please, and introduce herself to the body. Actually needs no introduction, but for the record.
Sorry. Deborah Fisher, and I'm with Tennessee Coalition for Open Government. And some of you who were here may remember this bill from 2021. We had this bill that came out right after COVID, and there was a lot of interest by governing bodies to try to figure out a way to kind of continue some of those meetings. What we found in those meetings, and we did some surveys during that because we worked with the governor's office on some language about how to conduct them during COVID, was that people really did not like the hybrid meetings. They were hard to follow when you had some people on the phone. Now, I know this bill says that the chair will has to visibly see the person, but that doesn't mean that they're not just on the phone. You know, that doesn't mean everybody's going to be able to see who's talking, for example. The hybrid meetings are just hard to follow. The bill allows 20% at any given meeting to be on the phone or by video, and that can be 3 people in some, like on a 15-member commission, if I'm doing my math right. So that it can be a lot. Our biggest concern with this bill, however, really has to do with the family or medical emergency reason. We think that is just too broad. It is not defined. It is in the eye of the beholder. So, for example, first of all, the bill was brought originally with an example of a Knox County commissioner who had, I think, knee or back surgery, I can't remember, who had to be at home, and he was immobile, right? And but it wasn't actually an emergency. It was certainly a temporary disability, but it wasn't an emergency. And we think that that language is too broad. Family emergency can be kind of, as I've mentioned to some of you, my husband's car broke down. I have to take my daughter to a soccer game. I don't think any of us think that should be a hope and a reason to attend electronically a governing body meeting. I also think it could be applied unfairly. If it's applied, you have a chairman of a county commission or a mayor of a board of aldermen, saying this person gets to take this family emergency, but this person not this family emergency, and it'll create some kind of policing effect there. So we have real concerns about how it would be applied, and the do not like the vague term family and medical emergency, which we think could lead to abuse and frankly overuse of this technology. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fisher. This time we'll go back into session. Chairman Crawford, do you have comments, questions to the sponsor?
I did have a question for one of our speakers, but since we went back in
I
session.
can go up. We can go back out of session, Chairman.
Okay.
Back out of session. Who would you like to?
The county commissioner from Sumner County.
Mr. Mansfield.
Mr. Mansfield, there in your testimony, you said that you were here testifying on behalf of yourself and your colleagues. Do you have a resolution, or is every one of the county commissioners agree with what you're here saying?
I do not have a resolution, but many of I've spoken to agree with what I'm saying. And we had a situation even, appreciate Ms. Fisher talking about the abuse of this process. We've had county commissioner watching Monday night football games on their phones during commission meetings. So I don't trust any electronic process or excuses that can be an open for somebody not doing the people's business. I think is disrespectful to the taxpayers. And so we definitely have had abuses even this legislative session of this new commission that came on in 2022. But I do not have a resolution that I've gathered at this time, sir.
I appreciate that, and I hate you have that problem in your community, but that is not a true statement when you say you're speaking on behalf of the other members that's on that commission. And I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Mansfield, would you like to respond?
I mean, I speak for a majority of the commissioners on my commission, so I think that is an accurate statement. So I would object to that statement.
Chairman Crawford, this continues.
Yes, sir. That was not what you said in your testimony, though. You said you were here on behalf of yourself and your fellow colleagues. Them were your exact words.
Well,
Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Mansfield. We'll go back into session. Recognized on the bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Simple, straightforward bill. Those folk that want to use this possibility can implement it. Those folk that do not want to use this possibility do not have to use it. I, myself, am a recovering 10-year county commissioner, representing thousands and thousands of people in Knox County. And when one of 11 is absent from the meeting, there are thousands of folk that are not being represented. So this is a balance between, yes, you can do this, but no, you do not have to do this. We need to drag ourselves kicking and screaming into a little bit better posture of representing the folk that sent you to represent your particular county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative McKenzie, colleague of the Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my colleague from Knox County wasn't only on the county commission, he was the chair for a lot of the years that I served with them. Question, could you and you read the TCA, could you tell me what the first year the mandatory meeting was enacted in?
Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first note that's in that 55106 in the notes of it says 1887.
Representative McKenzie.
I'm not going to vouch for that being correct.
Well, that's okay. It's a note in the TCA. And the last year was?
1978.
So there's a lot of time between 1800 and 1978, but also from a technology standpoint, we've come so far from the 70s to now. I always say that my mother died in 1988. I was fairly young. I was like, if she came back today and see me sitting here talking on a strange device and pulling in what they call the internet from the airwaves and being able to communicate across the world, she would be just flabbergasted. And that's 1988. So we've come a long way, my point, since those pieces of legislation were enacted. And we can't do anything about someone watching a game or playing solitaire during our meetings, but I think our technology is mature enough today to where these are fully open meetings, and those members who, on occasion, would get permission or able to do remotely because of a family situation, they can fully interact and engage. And I'll ask that question, and then the second one, I'll make a statement, and if they don't, there's going to be a vote, and in county commission case, those 50,000 folks in Knox County could vote that person out. That's the process. If someone's not doing their job, but to say they're not able to do it openly and fairly with all this great technology that we have, I think is a misnomer. So thank you for bringing this piece of legislation.
Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner McKenzie. That's the best title we've ever had. You remind me of one thing, though. In the 10 years that I was a member of county commission, the only day I missed was the day my dad was buried. Pardon me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized, sir, on the bill.
Thank you. Just to get on the record and make sure I understand this correctly, you said this would be no more than 2 times per year. Would that be the budget year, or would that be actual date year from January?
Vice Chairman. Fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. State that one more time for me so I can.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would this be the budget year that they could miss 2 meetings, or would this be actual January through December?
Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would anticipate this as the calendar year.
Okay.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, sir. And one more question. I know back when we had the COVID pandemic going on and everything, we made a few exceptions to make sure governments could get together and make the necessary decisions they needed. We had something in there that they had to be present from roll call to adjournment. I didn't see that in this particular bill. Is that in there or not?
Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is not in there in plain English.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now then, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you're recognized, sir.
If there are comments of the members of the committee, I'll be happy to talk and bring into the legislation what might be necessary to make sure that we cover the 2 times in a year. What does that mean? And the issue that you just raised. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Any other comments? You're recognized.
Mr. Wright, thank you for this bill. As I heard the comments that were made, I just want to say, you know, as somebody that has spent 60-plus days in the hospital at a time, I appreciate this legislation. Those 60 days didn't mean that I couldn't do my job. It just mean that I had a difficult situation, sickness. So I appreciate this legislation, and I'd like to sign on as a co-sponsor of this legislation.
Thank you, Representative Hale. Commissioner, Vice Chairman Wright, do you have a?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments? Representative Slater, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sponsor, for coming by my office and outlining this bill for me. And as I shared in my office, I have the opportunity to teach in classrooms. I have the opportunity to teach virtually. And then I also have the opportunity to teach in a hybrid fashion, which would be somewhat akin to what you're describing. Of those three opportunities to teach, by far, my least favorite is the hybrid. One of my colleagues mentioned the advance in technology, and we certainly have advanced, but I'm still concerned that the hybrid model makes it difficult for there to be full participation in committee meetings, and so I respectfully will have to vote no on this. But thank you, sponsor, for coming to my office and hearing me out.
Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would, as I think I may have stated in our meeting, have to say again, the hybrid model is better than Representative McKenzie not being there or myself not being there, Representative Hale not being there. There are drawbacks in anything that changes. But when I read that first few words at the beginning of this, the 55106, it says you're going to be there. You shall be there. Does that mean the sheriff then comes and gets you to bring you in? One example that was raised was Carson Daly. He had surgery twice. Thousands of his constituents were not represented because he couldn't get off the bed to get to the commission room. Larson J., the at-large county commissioner in Knox County, his father lives in California. If his father had a heart attack and he was in California, the entire of Knox County would be without his representation because he had a family emergency in California. I'm just asking the committee to look at all the points and, as I'd say, allow us to be drug kicking and screaming into the electronic age. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Holsclaw, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Moon. And Representative Wright, I reckon I want to go through and for the committee, you said it's permissive. How would that process work? Is that presented before all the commissioners and they vote on it, or what would your process envision there?
Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it would be up to the legislative body to look at the things that are outlined here and stay within these parameters and then come up with their policy. We had election results the other day, and people were talking about counties that didn't have websites. This does not drive those counties into being online. It's an individual choice by those that might want to investigate doing this.
Chairman Holsclaw.
Thank you. I'm done.
Representative McKenzie, your name was called, sir. All right. Any other questions? Comments? Is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 389. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. If you wish to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk. House Bill 389 moves on to the next available calendar of local government.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
This brings us to the heel of the calendar. Representative Stevens, you are recognized on House Bill 99. Please explain your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, am a recovering county commissioner, which is where I got the idea to present this legislation. Each county is required by law to have a records commission, And there are certain individuals that must be on this board or get appointed to the board in various ways. A few of those members who are not salaried by the county or the state get a per diem of up to $25 a day. And this was set in 1959. In Rutherford County recently, before my term ended, the committees were paid $150. And so I wanted to present this to request that the counties have the option to pay up to $150 for the Records Commission per diem if they choose to do so.
Questions on the bill? Comments on the bill? Our condolences to the Speaker being a recovering county commissioner.
There seem to be a lot of those here.
That's a good thing, sir. Is there objection to the question? Hearing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 99. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes prevail. House Bill 99 moves forward to the next available calendar of a local government.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That concludes today's calendar. At this time, does anyone have any announcements? Hearing none, without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned.